Welcome to another episode of AddSpace. I'm your host, Aaron Rand Freeman, and with me, the actual host, the CEO, CFO, the proprietor, owner, operator, lead therapist, head designer, social media lead, and travel czar of Unreasonable Fridays. Least Bacon,
I ain't
Bacon,
traveling
Henry.
nowhere. Nobody's traveling nowhere. We're on a traveling hiatus. There's no more position.
And if you didn't tell us that, how would we know? Which is why you're the travel czar. I'd be sitting there trying to book flights.
I'm saying is this is the last official day of the department being open. It's shut down.
So there's no more travel.
There's no more travel.
That's
It's done.
What a
We're
power
done.
play from the czar, the travel czar, ladies and gentlemen. What a power play.
I am closing down the shop.
Hey, yo.
The department's getting
It's
being dispersed into other departments.
It's like I don't know if that's like a is it like you're trying to increase your
we're
wages?
doing layoffs here. The tech layoffs have reached Unreasonable Friday.
The travel czar position is being absorbed into other positions.
We're consolidating in order to have in order to show to make our stakeholders happy.
I should let everybody know that my bonus is now going up to $210 a year.
Aaron's bonus is going up. Tell him to pay me more.
It's too soon, but we'll always have this problem. So it'll always be too soon. We'll never not have this problem though. However, we have a co-host guest. We do.
A guest host?
Co-guest. Guest host.
Here of their own volition?
They're always free when they show up here.
We are free Negroes.
We have with us writer, social commentator, thought leader, observer, activist, creator, game critic, author, speaker, and the new winner of the 2023 Black and Gaming Excellence in Media Award winning Jeffrey Rousseau. Sir, how are you?
Hello. Thank you so much for those accolades. As I promised, I graciously accept them. Thank you both for having me as usual. And it's cool winning that award, and I'm glad to be here. And I'm doing all right. I'm glad to be here.
The goal here is always make you feel a little weird. It's my favorite brand of humor. Because humans are so terrible to each other, is that genuine compliments and acknowledging accomplishments that they've achieved themselves makes humans feel real weird and act real weird, and it's my favorite. That just like,
it really is his favorite.
And you do
100%.
it, and they go, "Oh, I have a career, don't I?" And yes, you do, and a successful one, and we're proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, like that. He just throws it in there, and you're like, God, I hate everything.
Yeah.
No, I mean it feels weird is not the word. It's complicated because yes, I have a career in game journalism. It does feel good to be recognized, but it's also happening in a time where just other things on the back end, and I'm not taking away from myself and what I've done, because of course I wouldn't be here if not for y'all and other spaces I've been I'm in, that help support me, let me know that I could be myself, do what I do, and learn and write and just keep getting better at it. My thing is that even though I'm a game journalist, I'm still also a Black gaming journalist, and I'm gonna be honest, there's not a lot of us, as y'all can tell, in major publications. It's what I always like to ask people is that just think about your favorite website, and then or media platform, podcast, what have you, that you get your gaming news from. Then I want you to think about the makeup of that. How many people on there don't look like the status quo? How many people on there are queer? How many people on there are Black, otherwise of color, not a man, etc., etc., etc.? And what happens is that when you really think about that, that's a really small list. Let's keep it a bug. So while I got that award, it felt really good because I do try to make an effort, and I am supported in my job where I can do those kind of things, and I just try to get better at the craft to be my own personality. I'm not trying to be like everyone else. Before I go any further, what I will say, of course, is that although I wanted, other people very well could have wanted well, and I hope they do. And I'm gonna name them off right now. Other people like Reddit Infamy, Infamy. She does really good work. Elisa James at Tech Radar.
Hell
She
yeah.
does really good work.
Mm-hmm.
See,
I love them.
we have Janae Benet. She's really good at what she's doing. I just found out before we started recording, she's working on a documentary about women in games, like I think internationally and in the States. And then I was like, damn, that's amazing. That's like the kind of thing that Janae does. She also has written a book on how to get into games journalism. Also, someone else I like to shout out, of course, is Ash Parrish over at The Verge. We're all fans of Ash.
I love Ash.
Ash does great work.
I'm a huge fan of Ash. Tell
Word
Ash,
up.
make it weird.
Right?
Make it weird.
Absolutely. And also, someone who I just started learning about over at loopbreak.gg, Clarabelle. I see she's doing some really good work in the space as well. By the way, those were all Black films. None of them were men. I don't need to explain why I just mentioned like 5 different non-men who deserve an award of recognition.
Yeah.
It's 2023. I don't really need to explain that any further. Now, what I will say, what makes it feel complicated that I got that award is because I got that in a year where there's still been a lot of media layoffs. And even last week, I saw that folks in Inverse and Input got affected, and it sucks, And today I just saw, like little before we started recording, I just saw that Axios reported a story where since let me see here, that at least 17,436 job cuts so far this year have happened in the media industry. And that's per a report from Challenger, Gray, and Christmas on the Axios. You can find that right now. So that's a lot of people with outlets shuttering divisions. And it feels weird because it's like I have a job to do, but then I see these media layoffs and it feels really weird. Like I can't really explain the complexities of like how that affects things, or me, myself personally. It feels very odd to clock in to do your job, but also know that, maybe the next day that happens, you just won't have your job. It's like, I know that's not really good for the brain, but
I'm not gonna lie, because like I used to work in a dying industry. It's something that you need to know and be prepared for.
Right.
Like there's like it. I don't think it's necessarily one of those like I wouldn't go like the stress route, but I would try to have like backup plans if that makes sense.
Absolutely. My resume is updated. Absolutely. Like,
yeah, just like be one of those things where it's just like, just be ready for it to happen, because like this is just not one of them industries that is has long holdouts.
Right. And absolutely. And to Baker's point, and it also doesn't feel good when you see that the answer for media that, some people say, like, hey, instead of like hiring people from different backgrounds, let's just have AI be trained to speak like them. Yes, because I'm sure I am sure AI is going to be able to be the voice of Black people in a media website. I am so positive that that's going to work out.
What do you mean it's not going to work out?
I'm kind of hyped.
I
mean, I kind of want the Terminator robots to be speaking in like broken limericks, like Roadblock. Remember Roadblock, like that. I mean, if It's gonna be a catastrophe. I want to have a good laugh while it goes down, but please continue.
It, but needless to say, it's weird too because I always think of like interactions I have with a younger person in one of my discords, and like he's like I've even written about like media layouts and what that means for like folks in marginalized communities. They are often the first ones to go, and then it's like DI numbers are just like you just toss that out the window when you want to make cuts or whatever. So it's felt weird on that part because also it's just like how can you tell like younger people, and Aaron and Bacon noticed that one of the things I'm trying to get into is like mentorship for like newer people to do things. So how exactly am I gonna instill the youth with confidence? It's like, hey, a machine might very likely take the job that you want, so that's a whole separate different thing for
And do it badly.
and do it badly, right? And that's a whole different thing. But the complexities don't stop there because it's like on the back end of like winning that award and seeing the media layouts, it's like I also reminded too, like I'm a black dude from Florida. And yes, everyone knows Florida's been in the news for a whole bunch of reasons, whatever. And it looks like, hey, we're a state for fascism. Like, if that's what people think, I can't really stop you from thinking that. So, but it's weird. It's like I got this whole like, hey, I'm doing these things to like talk about marginalized people in the communities, but I'm also very much from a state that's I in travel advisory warning from the NAACP. Also from I'm so sorry, like the advisory board for LGBTQ IA plus folks, and also other communities as well. So that's fun seeing that, right? not to mention, I'm also in a state where they're going to pass. I think it was already signed into law and it's effective like in a couple of weeks or next month. SB 1718. And I'm sorry, I know y'all tuned into a video game podcast, but we like to talk about real things here.
I'm gonna make a correction. This is ADD Space, a nerd space podcast, and I am a firm believer that there is not a limitation on the topics for nerds because anything can be nerdy. It's about how much you put into it. And I am a political junkie. I am a politics nerd. Therefore, it goes. You think we talk about sports on here? Fucking, do you think I know anything about sports? No. But is Aaron a fucking nerd with stats in his brain like for days? Yes. Nerd. Continue.
Good
I had
point.
to interject there.
Thank you, Bacon. Good point. So, Florida, Ron, or I almost said this man's name. I'm not gonna say this man's name because a lot of ire in my body. But our governor recently signed in SB 1718, which is an anti-immigration law. And one of the worst things that thing does is that it, aside from it's affecting undocumented folks' ability to work, but like their access to like healthcare as well. Very, very vile. And what I found out today earlier was that something like this happened in California like 30 years ago. Now, when you think about that, it's like, but California is very not with the shits when it comes to stuff like this, right? And one of the reasons is because 30 years ago, when something similar, anti-immigration law passed over there, it put a lot of batteries in the backs of people to galvanize them. And they were like, no, we ain't gonna let this shit fly. So now the state now is very much not with the shits. So all that's to say is that it's weird to like step back and realize that, yes, while I get this award, that's very much not what my state's in the news for, i.e. try to help raise the awareness of like what marginalized people are doing within the games industry. My state's very much not in the news for that. And it's just weird because of that, Is weird the right word? Well, no, it's complex because it's just like, well, that's not who I am. Even though I was born and raised here, it's just like, no, that's not what I'm about. Not the spaces I go into, not where I choose to spend my time, not the friends that I have out here. It's just like, no, right? So, and then there's a reason why I mentioned all of this, because despite me getting that award, and as I've acknowledged that, there aren't a lot of Black gaming journalists in big publications, and I still, when you read my tweet, I still said we still need more of us. We something that needs to be said too is like, when you think about your favorite website, how many just folks of color are in leadership positions in media, big media sites that you're aware of. Like, I don't want to take a credit away from people who are in positions we just don't know. But think about it. It's like, how many, and the reason why I mentioned that is because this came up in conversation again very recently, considering the Summer Game Fest hosted by Jeff Keighley. And throughout the entire show, it got flack because there was no women on stage. So it's one of those things where, like, well, if this is a quote unquote show representing the games industry, once again, you're making it very clear what that means. But it didn't stop there. The comments didn't just stop with that. Other shows and platforms were also getting flagged for the fact that they would have panels and it was looking very alabaster, to say the least.
Oh, what do you mean? It's the same like mid 40s, mid 30s, mid 40s white guys in various color of the same polo shirt and khakis.
Yes. And again, it's one of those things where, like,
I think one wore a jacket.
Right. Yes. And it's one of those things again where it's like, okay, so 3 years ago, all of y'all put out a whole bunch of press releases, and I promise this, I call them press releases of quote unquote doing better in response to Black trauma, which, let's be frank, DEI as a response to Black trauma is still really, really ridiculous. That's where y'all jump, but that's something for me to talk about more on my blogs when I write about things that Bacon and Aaron are very aware of. But anyway, I digress. So the conversation again came up if media is still very much, middle-aged white guy, and people are still actively choosing not to uplift, showcase, like, people like myself and my other peers and colleagues that, whose work I'm very well, what does that say? I'll tell you what that says. What that tells me is that I do not consider myself as quote unquote part of the industry, at least not a certain part of it. And that's fine with me, because I'll be very honest, Bacon and Aaron, hell, even where I work at, like I've said it before, it's like, that's fine. You can quote unquote put me in this label right here, or this niche, or whatever you want to call it. That's fine with me, because I am not interested in being like the majority. I don't want to write like other people. I'm not saying that they don't do the work. I'm just saying, like, the things that I'm very much focused on or would rather be a part of clearly is very different of what the message is there. And while I was explaining all of this, I also realized of the podcasts I've been on, aside from this one, they've only been like Black. And I've realized, I don't know if that's been an active part on mine, or just that people know where I want to be at.
I'm a keep it straight, buddy. You be specifically going for the Black podcast,
Right.
and the Black podcasts are like, yeah, we know this nigga's into the Black shit. Like, I don't think either of those things are incorrect.
Right.
I'm pretty sure it's a both, 100% both.
Right.
Yeah. And I think about these things, and I'm gonna be a little honest. It's like, every day I work, I don't really think about the fact that I don't see a lot of myself for that, because the thing is, truthfully, it's like, it's not like it necessarily bothers me, because the thing is, I know I be reading books about like systemic issues, what folks are doing to fix it or address it, or yada yada yada. So really, I'm thinking more about those things in my head, not the fact that I think about like a week's gone by and I haven't seen a Black person in anything gaming related or whatever, which is technically not true, because I make it an effort to like see those things anyway, given my job. So it's, but anywho, I know this is a long-winded explanation, but there's a point to all of this. So that goes back to the fact that people were once again talking about this, and I noticed that some people try to defend themselves. And I'm not gonna name any names, and I'm gonna throw there, but my thing is that you can't really defend yourself. I don't think you can defend yourself very well if when I Google your show, I see the same people in the images, like literally the same people with a sprinkle of diversity here and there. So if anyone feels enamored to defend something, like please put more meat behind it. You know what I'm saying? And then this also goes back to video games, like the games that we play too, because still there's a large contingent of it that appeals to a certain demographic. And then, we saw people tweet about like, oh, how nearly, was it 50% of gamers, quote unquote gamers, because I know some people don't like to call themselves that, on like consoles are not men and things like that. But that data isn't necessarily quote unquote new, because that data we've seen for years. It's just like, yes, people know this. So why do y'all keep making games that look like a certain way? Which goes back to the now newly released FF16 demo. And Aaron, that is your window, brother.
It's funny, the
My
window
man controlled the segue.
Right, my man, he drove that Segway into the lobby, just crashed it in there.
He just wanted to hear us yell. Like we weren't like yelling all morning in the Discord.
Well, the thing about Final Fantasy 16 is there's so much wrong with it by choice, and there are so many weird choices being made that it's clear they're trying to make a game for not me. Like sometimes it's very passive. You ever play a game where it just seems like they didn't think about you? But it feels like Final Fantasy 16 is actively trying to make choices that I just simply don't like. Like it's just something that it's just not for me. Like I haven't played a game that's specifically not for me so hard. Like what became originally just a search to find a single black person, because I'll freely admit, we talked about it on the show. There were 2 episodes where we talked about how Yoshi P got up there and dropped white supremacist bars about about historical accuracy and world building and why black people don't belong in his game because of the world they've built. But I didn't really, in my brain, I did not think that when we were talking about no black people, I was like, no, there are black people, just not in the main story. There have to be black people around in the world. So when I played the demo, I was like, oh, there aren't any black people here at all. And that was so jarring. Like, I was like, oh, they weren't fucking around. There are no niggas in this experience.
Yeah, and so part of the thing too, and this is why I wasn't expecting any background ones, is because if there were background, they would have used it as an excuse, because that's what they do. They would be like, none of the main cast is, but we've made sure to like fill our world with like a represented environment. So like there's always some bullshit that they spawn if there's background characters that are diverse. There was my Negro, there were nothing at all. Nothing. They're just like, no. 2 fucking full interviews of bullshit. The second interview was just like, but what do you mean? So we saw you did the thing, but does that mean that maybe? And they're like, no. Like there were 2 very clear questions and in-depth interviews that really were targeting those questions specifically, and the answers in both of them were not. There ain't no Negroes.
Wow. Yeah, I understand.
Historical accuracy.
Did you know that
I am so pissed. Like it's very frustrating for me.
What fascinates me is like the game starts off with the Phoenix fighting Bahamut. They provide context for it as you play through the demo, but the opening part of the game is you just simply controlling a giant flaming bird. While Bahamut, we all know Bahamut, the very angry dragon bull, lunges at you over and over again while you defend yourself. And again, and then I'm brought back to historical accuracy in a world where apparently different groups of people have different powers over different stuff. Yes, the first thing you see is people casually using power, like casually using ice magic to make water, casually using fire magic to light things, casually using healing magic to grow grass, like historical accuracy. Like this is the most batshit magical world. And yeah, historical accuracy. Just
But yeah, historical accuracy.
I'm still trying to process it because they've managed to make one of the least likable games I've ever played. And I'm just like, so the game plays well. Like you mentioned, they brought in some folks from Capcom to tighten up the combat. And let's call it the Final Fantasy 13 era Final Fantasies. The combat's always felt a little weird. So it feels good to play and run around. It does. The world.
I mean, it better than the man from Devil May Cry 5 is the battle director.
Yeah, it felt really strong and intuitive, and that would explain why air combos do more damage, but that's neither here nor there. So we say that Final Fantasy 13 was when there was a clear intent of pursuing Western ideals, right? Was that where the line break where the idea was to make a Final Fantasy that appealed to all audiences, centering Western audiences? Am I crazy? 13, where they introduced lightning and they had that like the 3D floating walking simulator where you can.
I think so, because like that game was like, hello, Western people who have never played an RPG in their life. This is how you play an RPG.
I mean, they're still doing that in the
demo.
Look,
everybody. Yeah, you can walk through the environment. Look, there's storytelling.
Yeah, that's what
Timmy's first RPG.
They're still doing that in Final Fantasy 16. They're like, go to the glowing spot. It will provide you with an item. In any number of items that will help your character. Now go to the gear screen. The item you just got can be applied to your character to change their statistic. Okay, fine. But in this one, they've kind of, by their own design, they've cited Game of Thrones as an inspiration. And Final Fantasy presents Game of Thrones is the least likable world of any Final Fantasy I've ever played.
So I'm not gonna lie. So the writer for Final Fantasy 16 did a Realm Reborn for Final Fantasy 14 and Heavensward, and Heavensward, won awards. It's like it was considered for the longest time the best storytelling. It is not actually my personal favorite, and it never really has been. But that's because I am more of a person who prefers storytelling through characters, and he does not do that very well. He does fantastic world building, like actually like really good world building. Like I can see him narratively doing that correctly, but he is not good at characters and like in-depth, like meaningful character interactions and relationships. And that is the kind, like I said before, like that is the kind of storytelling like I personally really love, and what I look for in a lot of my games. And because I'm a huge high fantasy nerd, like there's no surprise here. Y'all know what games I fucking play. But yeah, that is not his strong suit. Like all of like my favorite content in 14 is not his writing. That's not, I mean, again, the narrative was so good, it did win awards, and it is like very, very popular for a good reason. But let me tell you, those characters, like even going back, like, and having to like sit through those cutscenes, I was just like, I am in pain.
That's what I got. And it's funny that I really appreciate the context, because it's like the actual world of what governs. So it's a world where apparently like the summons are inside people. So yes, there are some folks who have the ability, like there was one scene where like a dude was like a whole ass titan, and
I
fought
mean,
Shiva.
he was Titan.
Well, then it was him. Then and it was Titan, and then they fought Shiva, and these are all people, and apparently they defend their kingdoms, and how that all came about is interesting. Listening to characters interact with each other is annoying because so they're trying to do the Game of Thrones thing. The Game of Thrones had a lot of charismatic characters and punchy writing, at least for the George R.R. Martin assisted bits of it.
Well, George R.R. Martin, for all of his faults and ridiculousness, could actually kind of write characters
Right,
decently.
exactly.
It wasn't. I'm not saying it was great, but it wasn't bad. Like,
No, this is
you
bad.
Specifically got through them.
What's the name of this fellow again? So I can the name of the writer
What?
for Final Fantasy 16.
Hold on. I definitely put it in the thing.
Mhm.
I want to get his full name because I only remember his other. I only remember the shortened version. Found it. Mahiro.
Mahiro.
Katsutoyo Mahiro.
Kachutaro? Mahiro? The
Mhm.
people are awful. And they're awful while trying to do the Game of Thrones thing. The combination of both of these things makes me roll my eyes consistently throughout the experience. Like it's like I said, this pursuit, whatever they're doing, the intent is makes the experience in large chunks unenjoyable. Like it's just not likable. Also, there's a lot of death. Like I've never seen this many people get stabbed by sharp implements in any Final Fantasy game ever. Like at least 15 people got stabbed, or their throats were slit, or they got killed asking for help, or they were pulpified by a rock. Like a lot of people fucking exploded into blood and were killed. And it's kind of like the Game of Thrones thing where like you can get attached to a character and they can just get wiped out immediately in a 3-minute segment on an episode. And that's kind of and again, I don't know whether this might be subjective. There might be some people who were chomping at the bit to play a Final Fantasy with that narrative conceit. Not for me. Especially not executed by this person who's not writing characters well. It's just characters are on screen. It's very awkward listening to them interact with each other. And they may or may not die at some point. And it's, again, just very unpleasant. It just, yeah, like dairy on a hot day. It's just unpleasant. I'm just like playing it and I'm like, this is fine, I guess, for the people that they're making. Like, again, this is not for me. Final Fantasy 16 is so deeply, profoundly not for me. Not even accidentally. Like, this is just not pointed in my direction at all. So, what are you gonna say?
No, we're good. I wasn't saying anything.
Okay. I've taken aback by this, just like the direction of Final Fantasy. I didn't really feel a way about it one way or the other until now, where they've kind of made it unenjoyable is the best word for it, because it's not bad. If you're here for it, you'll get what you need. It's the best version of this Final Fantasy 13 era Final Fantasy game that they've been trying to refine for however many years they've been doing it now. 10, I guess. 12 maybe. It's the best one. Ain't no niggas in it. And that shit's miserable as hell. Music sounded good. But yeah, I beat the demo and I was like, nah. And they were like, you can take the save. You can start the full purchase from this save. Save your game. It's like, nah, I'm good. The only interest is me is I would like to see if there are black people in the game now. That's it. That is now my curiosity. The Final Fantasy nigga search is on, and it has superseded the value of the game because I cannot imagine now the game is an RPG. We're gonna be in there for 70 hours. 0 black people. Not even goons, bruh. Oh yeah, the game had like the game has like goblins.
Not even with their desert folks.
Right, that's what I'm wondering. I'm like, so are we gonna be like swashbuckling and shit and going into places where the sun's 3 feet away from our face, and those niggas are gonna be white?
I mean, did you see the Titan guy?
Titan guy, he had
The
tan.
oh
Oh,
oh.
brother.
He had tan. He's a little dusty.
We're not doing that.
He's a little dusty.
No, that's like this is a white person, Dusty. Like he's not even like he's like that weird clay mud tone that doesn't even
We're
fucking
not.
make
Bro,
any sense.
he's
We're not doing
he's
that.
talking about his Dark Souls. He's Dark Souls black. You guys gotta.
No,
you guys got.
No, he's
no,
not
no,
even
no.
Dark
You
Souls
can't do
black.
that. You can't even do that anymore. They got better with the skin tones a little bit, so you can't even try that anymore.
Which Dark Souls game would you make niggas?
I'm talking about 3.
Oh,
You can make him in Elden Ring and in 3.
No.
I
Well,
did-
yes, skin
in-
tones are better. Wait. Skin tones are better. Yes. Elden
Yeah,
Ring.
they're
Yes,
not mud
that's
tones
correct.
in Elden Ring.
Right. Skin tones are better. The hair options are atrocious. They do not exist. Skin tones are better. Yes.
Right. No, it's just, but like you could also do the nose too. That was the big thing. You could also do the nose. So it's just black people with presses.
Right. Anyway.
I mean, listen. Like I said, that is the intro. That is
Yeah,
the.
I don't-
That is.
I
the,
don't.
go
I don't
on.
know where in Elden Ring you're gonna be finding a hot comb, but like they did.
I mean, there's so many things that are trying to kill you. I'm certain you can fashion a hot comb out of something that's trying to kill you and failed somewhere.
I ain't never playing that game until I see some Negro hair. I promise you.
What are you
Anyway,
talking about? Listen, I made Bruno Mars, and I'm proud of it. I'm proud. That is the blackest character in Dark Souls I ever made. That wasn't made out of chocolate or mud. Is that Bruno Mars I had in Elden Ring before I deleted and installed the game. Very proud of that ambiguously brown person who claims they're black, but then no one on the internet agrees with them and jams them up about it, so they have to be very quiet about their ethnicity in social spaces. I was proud of that person that I made. Final Fantasy 16 ain't got no niggas even like that. I don't know. We gotta see. Like I said, that is what are you gonna say?
No, it's funny because while you were explaining that, I was just thinking about other people who like the demo and what have you. And the thing is, it's gonna sell, it's gonna be popular, it's gonna do well. It's going to. The thing I was thinking of was that I think they put out a press release about like things they're gonna do in the future, whatever. And then it was just like, yeah, the game director understands about the need of diversity. And I just rolled my eyes so hard when I read that bullet point in that press release. I understand about diversity. I was like, okay. I will say, go ahead, Bacon. I'm sorry.
Listen, the director is in charge of the Saga series, and by that I mean Romancing Saga. And so, like, Romancing Saga is like one of my other favorite series, and I'm just sitting here like, I hate everything.
Yep.
We got all like the creators of all my favorite games in one room.
Yep. And they were like, no niggas, please, thank you. None of that.
It's just I was thinking of something like poignant to add. It's just one of those things. And the thing about this conversation too is just that I've seen so many different sides to the conversation. It's like, I'm not saying you're a bad person if you want your high fantasies to be like this or whatever. That's fine. That's your prerogative. Ultimately, that's your money that you're spending. I'm not saying that you're a bad person. It's just like, for me, it's just very easily for me to look at that. I'd be like, no, I'm gonna save my money. I'm okay. That's it.
I don't judge, but it is I don't judge, but if you are really all into Final Fantasy 16 and hand waving the critique, which is a valid one, that there is a shocking lack of black people in the game, and the reasoning behind it is problematic, you're giving a lot of information about your view of black people, whether you're a black person or not. You're giving a lot of information. If someone judges you based on that information, that's not their fault. You are handing out a lot of information. If the developer of a game you want to play says you don't belong in it, whether that's a line in the sand for you is, like I said, it's information. If somebody wants to judge you off of it, again, you handed out the information willingly. They said you don't belong in it. And you're like, okay, cool. Here's $70 anyway. Again, just saying, like, you know.
On the opposite side of that, I am very upfront. The fact I mostly play or purchase games that allow me to make Black people, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, hey, what are you playing? I don't know. The news that just came out where you can make someone that looks like they walked into a beauty shop. So how about that?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of character creators, but like I'm also the type of person who would be like, if if the game's got a not cis hetero male character, cis hetero white male character, then like I will support that game, because like even though there's like it's getting a bit better, like even just games with female leads is just really small. Like it's not like, I mean, if you're people be like, oh well, there's so many, and I'm like, yeah, but like how long have video games been like a thing, and how long have video games been like mainstream? Even like you can't just like look at recent, like, and even if we're looking at recent, well, like let's look at all the games that came out in the last like 2-3 years, and how many of them have like female leads. So like, or even just like queer leads or like queer coded, and it's like once you like most of them are like in the indie game space, and I'm 100% like on supporting, but like there's also like, if you're not fronting those sales in the AAA games, then they absolutely don't make those games. And so even if I'm like not gonna like necessarily play the game, I still try to like, you know, like support those ones, because there's just that we don't have anything. There's nothing. There's just it's so bad that there's just nothing. Like, and then of course, like with Black characters, it's just like we're being fed table scraps. There's like it's disgusting how few there are. So but I'm like if there's a character, there's a character creator. Like the only games, because like I said, I like high fantasy RPGs. Like my only exceptions are usually like if the story revolves around a group of people and not like a singular individual, then I'm like, okay, well, we're telling multiple stories. Like part of why I love Octopath Traveler. There's 4 dudes and 4 ladies.
Right.
And they're all very unique characters and very, very different. But it just sucks. Like like I said, we're just feeding off the table scraps. There's nothing. This game in particular has been making me really upset, because I'm a long Final Fantasy fan. Like I'm a very long Final Fantasy fan. And I don't really like the direction that a lot of the newer games have been going, and like I'm gonna say like 13 onward.
I almost get the feeling now that we're like, as we're talking about it, I feel like this is almost like a slow burn reaction to Lightning's existence, because they had 3 whole games with this character, and now we will no longer get a female protagonist. And now, like I said, the diversity is kind of being wrung out.
You want to know the best part about 12? And I love 12, but this is annoying. This is the thing that annoys me about 12.
Go on.
The main character is actually Ash, who is a woman, but the entire story is told through the lens of a boy.
That reminds me of Lost Odyssey.
It's a very good story, but that also pisses me off.
Yeah, Lost Odyssey did that. I don't know, like Lost Odyssey was that Xbox JRPG where the whole story was about a Black woman named Seth and her sacrificing herself for her child. And the main character was just kind of like a squall type of low talking male sword wielding male protagonist, but the story was actually about this Black lady. And being she was an immortal Black lady pirate. That was the game was about her, but they could never make the game about her. They could not be like, the game is about this person, and so they had like this like low talking sword wielding general main male protagonist mush filter that they had to put the story through.
Right.
But yeah, that is the verdict of Final Fantasy 16. It's so unlikable that I'm gonna be returning to this because they've managed to make it. Because I wasn't a big fan of 13, but I kind of respected it, and I didn't like 15. And again, is fine, but they've managed to make something that I actually kind of squint my eyes at. And I don't really care about games that I don't like. Some games that aren't for me, I tend to let them go. Like, I understand, like, I don't buy them, I don't support them, but I haven't seen a game kind of aggro about it, like the Game of Thrones thing, the lack of diversity thing. This entire, it's not for me. And I don't even know who it's for. Like, I feel like it's for people who just buy Final Fantasy whenever they put out Final Fantasy, to be blunt. Like, who is this for? Who asked for this?
I mean, I can tell you who it's for. Because like I'm just sitting here because they're like, they one of the things that they gave is they're like, well, we wanted, like, we're trying to, like, broaden our appeal, and I'm like, to whomst, because we know what the global majority is. So to whomst are you trying to broaden the appeal? Because
I mean, I thought you guys were selling millions of copies of these games every time you brought them out. So I can't imagine who more you'd want to. You've actually raised 2 generations of gamers now. 2. You have the people playing the MMO.
3, actually.
Right. You have the people raised on Final Fantasy 7 and the people raised on Final Fantasy 14.
No, because we've got the pre-7 babies.
Right. So there's 3. Yeah. Because of the amount of people that went and brought the remasters, right? Those sold like hotcakes, right? There are 3 generations of people.
Not even just the remasters, because, like, remember some of the Final Fantasies were out on Super Nintendo. That's why the numbering system was all fucked up, because they didn't bring 3 over until like PlayStation-ish era, when they brought the ports. So they called Final Fantasy 6 Final Fantasy 3 in the States. Same with Final Fantasy 4 being Final Fantasy 2.
Right.
There's like a whole numbering fuck up because of it on US copies. Only half of the games came over to the States. And then we had Final Fantasy 5 didn't make it over till Nintendo, the DS era.
That makes me sad.
And then PlayStation era, they brought over, there's Final Fantasy Anthology, and then I can't remember what the other Final Fantasy, I have them both, I just can't remember the name of it. And those came out, and that was the actual Final Fantasy 1, 2 on one disc, and then it had 3, 5, and 6 on another.
Jesus.
Yeah, 1, 2, and 3 were on the first one, and then they had like 4, 5, and 6 on the other.
I mean, I guess we do know who this is for. All right, we're gonna have to
eventually fix it.
Yeah. So like, we're on like 3 to 4 generations, because we have Gen X, we have millennials, we have Gen Z, and the babies know what this game is.
Yep. It's a 35-year-old franchise. Yeah.
It's a 35-year-old. It's one of the oldest franchises.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So, I mean,
no, like, Final Fantasy franchise is up there with Dragon Quest.
Well, another series that also shares the same quote unquote aesthetics.
And then we have the Tales.
But go ahead.
What I like about Tales, though, is that Tales does really thoughtful messaging. Although I will never forgive them for queer baiting Zestiria.
Wow. Now that we've actually laid out all Final Fantasy has raised 3 generations of gamers. So what is this?
3 and a half, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just pleased that Alan Wake that you play as a black lady front to back now.
It's
That's it.
funny that you mentioned that. Wait,
sorry,
before we go there,
I'm coming to Alan Wake.
Before we get to that, I wanted to say that Bacon reminded me something. The point they were making earlier that Because it's Pride Month, and I wrote a story like seeing what different companies are doing. I know one of the things that Xbox is doing is that it partnered with Glad, and that's going to help them either create a pipeline or a talent pipeline to help creators create more LGBTQ IA plus stories. I don't know if that'll range from like indie to like AA or AAA. I'm not sure, but I do know that's something I saw. I did want to mention that because Bacon reminded me as they were explaining, because we need more games of that nature. I agree. But anyway, back to Alan Wake.
No, that's fine. You play as Black Lady, Saga Anderson. I'm a big Remedyverse fan privately, so I'm very pleased that the Alan Wake story will actually conclude because it's several games long.
I'm
And
sorry, Aaron. I'm coming in late.
I'm gatekeeping, bro.
sorry.
Nah, I don't need you Negroes jumping on the
I
bandwagon
ain't playing the
because you
first
playing.
one, dog. I ain't gonna hold you.
Yeah.
It's probably gonna have like a recap. I'll be like,
I
that's
don't know.
nice.
I don't
Skip.
need.
Let me just play as
I
a
don't
Black
need.
lady.
Get your Negro hands off of Alan Wake at the end of the fucking 12-year fucking story of Alan Wake because you play as a black.
It shouldn't have taken them 12 years.
Get your Negro hands off.
They're gonna be all over it.
Nah,
You
I'm
can't stop
gatekeeping.
me.
I'm gonna be super toxic. You're gonna be ready for me to get myself canceled.
Unambiguous black lady with black
I'm
lady
gonna
hair.
get myself canceled.
Give
I'm
me-
gonna have to
Got my
unfollow
hands.
myself on Twitter, unsubscribe from my own
The-
podcast, and
The
take a
audience
leave
can't
of
see, but I'm doing
absence.
grabby hands. Grabby hands.
Listen, I'm gonna have to say I'm gonna get diatribe, block myself.
I don't care.
When I have to
Listen. I thought Alan Wake would have been safe because a few days, literally like a few days before Alan Wake comes out, Assassin's Creed Mirage came out, and then I did I did the most important research on Assassin's Creed Mirage, and that was Assassin's Creed Mirage. What is the gender?
Yes.
And found out that there is no gender choice in
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed Mirage, and also found out that they're going back with that game to the roots.
Yes.
They're doing a more Assassin's Creed style, super stealth, super boring, and it's gonna be about this. It's gonna be about the story of a character who's an integral character in Valhalla, but it takes place like a couple decades before Valhalla. And I'm just sitting here like, why can I not be a Muslim lady assassin?
Yeah.
They told me no, and I no longer care. So I'm sorry, Alan Wake is no longer safe.
I no longer care. I mean,
you are almost safe. You almost had it, but no, they took my one joy, the thing that I was hoping for. We could have been great. But no, this has like all the makings of like one of them side story games, because you know like what Ubisoft likes to do. They have like the main games, right? They have like the really big fucking huge games, and then what they do is they in between those giant fucking games they shove in like they're like, we've got a new Assassin's Creed game, but it's actually much smaller, and they kind of like shove it. It's like a side story game, but they're like, no, really find out more information. Do all of this. It's what I call Black Flag. Like Black Flag was clearly a side story one.
They did that was used to be how they slid in the non-male assassins. Remember the Assassin's Creed China, the Assassin's Creed, the one with the
yes.
the black girl? I forgot the name
yes,
of it.
Well, this is how they're shoving in a Muslim character.
Yes. Well, they're you know, I don't understand. I mean, I guess I don't know. Once I saw that it was also not going to be open world, I also like I don't think Assassin's Creed is as good of a stealth game as everybody else does.
It's not. It never was. That was the problem with it.
Yes, that's why
all the best parts about the Assassin's Creed series are how all the open world elements and the parkouring and the movement. Nobody gives a. I'm sure there are people who give a fuck about the story. Somewhere.
The stealth
I'm sure.
Stealth is the stealth in the game itself was always flawed. It was a stealth game with really wonky stealth, and I always thought the series itself became very popular off the strength of Assassin's Creed 2. Like that Ezio story.
Did, because everybody hated 3 and everybody hated 1.
Right. 3 was a scam. Remember they were talking up that Native American kid? They were talking up that Native American character, and you did nothing but follow around white men as they formed the country.
Nothing.
Yeah, that was a big scam. That was actually when that made me mad at Assassin's Creed for a long time. I was deeply resentful.
We've been open world since Origins. Like we can't go back. We can't go back. Don't go back.
I mean, I guess we do. People were complaining about the open world games. They were too
Well,
big, and some people said they were too big, too much game. So it was.
okay, but those people also don't play Skyrim, so who cares?
I I agree with you. I don't really want to see a pared
What
down
what I
Assassin's
what I
Creed.
actually appreciated about the open world of Origins, uh can't remember the second one.
Open world of Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla were the
Origins
three
or
open
Odyssey
world.
and Valhalla. What I appreciated about those is that they were open world, but there were rails. Like
Yes,
you could see, like you could go and do like all kinds of bullshit, but that bullshit one had a purpose. Like it was very directed bullshit. Like all of the side quests led to purposes.
I think so. I
There was like a train of purpose, but like there was a story, and the story was just like, you go here now. So like there were points where it'd be like, okay, I've done all of the bullshit I could do in an area, and the game was like, you need to stop fucking around and go over here. And I'm like, okay, fine. So it wasn't just open world. That there were rails. They were like, you can't just do whatever you want forever. You have to go. You have to go here.
I agree. I remember.
And I appreciate that. I hate open world without rails, because when there's no rails, my ADHD just takes over and then I get bored.
That is my biggest issue with the Zelda. That's why I haven't played the new one, is because from the looks of it, is they just kind of like put you in the game, like you're just there now. You're a Link
Yeah,
now.
you're supposed to earn your engineering degree.
Right, and I'm like, that is so. So you tell me I'm just here now, and I gotta make it work. I was like, I'm literally doing that right now, every single day. I do not need a life simulator, as the one I'm currently playing is shockingly realistic, and yeah. So I don't want to play an open world like game like that. I prefer to put me on rails.
No, like even in real life, sometimes I wanted I need a I need a person to just be like, you are going here.
Right.
They'd be like, oh, you need to do this. Talk to this person and go over there. And I'm like, thank you. I hate it. I hate being directionless.
Um. Yeah. Yes. There's another open
I,
world game like that. There's one that
my brain needs the reward dopamine.
it's one of the things about they finally showed Starfield for like 45 straight minutes, and
How does that look? And will I care?
so they spent a lot of energy trying to communicate that this is like Fallout and like Skyrim, but new. And it's kind of like we've learned to accept and understand that you have to accept that this game is going to have an absolute fuck ton of jank, for example. They're trying to act like it won't. It's going to be big and procedurally generated. But again, there's going to be an absolute bunch of Fallout-ness happening in the game. So I don't know. I'm not excited. It was cool. But it was very interesting looking at them try
it looked
to.
like Fallout.
It looks spectacular, but it will play like Fallout and like Skyrim because they're just making the Bethesda RPG.
Oh,
they're
I'm
making.
so sorry. Wow.
Well,
Okay.
I know what that means. No, I know what that means. I remember. I don't like Fallout or Skyrim.
Right.
Okay, no. Here. So I like Fallout. I don't like Skyrim. Fallout has some rails to has like rails to it, and again has purpose to like the side missions. However, my problem is the writing with Fallout, because Fallout does the morality choices. They do kind of like a kind of morality sort of ish with it, and like throw some weird ethics, but then they do it half-heartedly. And I'm gonna tell you, the last Fallout game, like actual game, not 76, but the last Fallout game made me not want to beat the game because I got angry.
What happened?
I did not like what the options were.
What happened?
The options were all bad. They were all bad. There are no good options that are written for the story for Fallout. The last Fallout game. There are none. It's very irritating.
Well, then, like I said, if you are okay with Fallout and Skyrim, then they're giving you more of the same. It was a lot of pomp and circumstance, almost like it was the same tone as if they had if they were selling us a new app, a virtual reality headset, or a new app, or a new MacBook. You know what I mean? Like it was very much.
I mean, okay, I'm not gonna lie. If I can get through the game without game breaking bugs and have to start my game over after putting 60 hours into it,
no one believes that Bethesda's capable of that, and that entire.
I don't believe Bethesda's capable
right.
of that.
The entire presentation was mostly them trying to sell us a game that we are to believe would be as little jank as possible, given the developer.
The only games that Bethesda has put out that are not jank don't use the same engines that Fallout and Skyrim are built on, and it's specifically the Wolfenstein series.
Yes, I think it's like the id engine or something like that. It's used for Doom and Wolfenstein, and those games are clean as hell. Yes, they look clean as hell.
And the studio, like the teams under Bethesda who work on the non-Skyrim and non-Fallout games put out consistently great, functional, I can complete the fucking game work.
Well, Fallout people are making Starfield, so again,
okay, well, that answers all of my questions.
Right. Also, there was a Star Wars game. Ubisoft. So I'm a Division fan. I like the Division, but I remember somewhere a little bit after the Division came out, maybe like 18 months. Big chunk. They had like plans for the game. They're like, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and then about a month they were like, actually, we're not. And a big chunk of the dev team got removed onto another project that actually is a Star Wars open world game that has a lot of the Division in it in terms of design and feel and graphics, and it actually looks significantly more entertaining than Starfield for the kind of the same premise. So it's just kind of like I was like, oh, that kind of came in and yeah, and that's kind of the Bethesda way, is that there'll actually be another game that kind of where it plays like Fallout, that's just a little bit more solidly designed. It's just more structurally sound, and that is better just because it works.
Sorry, that was sense. The other game I couldn't think of was the Division. I'm like, what the fuck else did what else the fuck did they put out?
Ubisoft, the Division was the open world game where they
from Ubisoft.
Yes,
the open world with guns where you're shooting ethnic minorities.
Listen, they tightened that up. In the second game, it was the first game you were shooting did I ever tell you about the best patch I've ever experienced, where in the original game, original Division 1, they had students. They were just like, they were called like looters, but they were essentially just kids, like young small people dressed up in like hoods, except for like the boss ones would be like this one really big kid. and one time they released a patch, like someone had wrote on Reddit, like, why are all these kids black and why do they all look like Trayvon Martin? And it got full of people, full of pushback, and then nothing seemed to happen. And then there was a patch where they just made almost all of that faction white kids. They didn't say shit. They did no response. There was one patch where all those black kids in hoods and starter jackets and backpacks became white kids in hoods and starter packets. And I was like, are these kids, did they make those kids white? Those kids were shooting, are they white now? So yeah, there you go. That's all. That's my Division story. It is the greatest patch I have ever downloaded in any game. It is the greatest patch because I was asking. I asked some friends. I got on. I was like, hey, I asked some black. I was like, get on the Division. Are the looters white now? But yes.
I love like they're like they didn't say shit.
They didn't say nothing. Nah, they were like, they just were quietly like heard, and that was it. They were like heard, and that was all they could do because they're still Ubisoft. They're gonna be terrible. But yeah, that was their solution. But yes. There is the Star Wars Outlaws looks considerably more interesting than Starfield, and I just trust it to work. I just realized like the amount of energy that went into the Starfield presentation, for me to hear it, respect it, and then understand that in my heart, it simply won't work the way they're saying. That's a shame. A lot of energy is going. It was 45 minutes. They talked to everybody. The team is diverse. Lots of brown people. Lots of non-men. And at the end of it, and at the end of
Whoa.
it, right.
Whoa.
It's like that one dude, white dude, Todd, the lion guy. Like he's still the face of it, but everyone behind him was brown and not a dude, right? Or not a dude. And at the end of it, we were all just like, this shit ain't gonna work though. This shit ain't gonna be broken. I don't care. I got Game Pass. It's all good. But this shit gonna be broken though. And everyone's like, yeah. See you day one, baby. Ain't gonna work. And that's a shame. So much energy. Not a soul believes this game is gonna work the way. 45 minutes in an all white. You ever seen when the white man when the white man's got the beads on and everything? Like he's serious. He's got the button down. He's got the beads on and everything. Like he's serious. You know, the Apple Watch on the left hand, the beads on the right hand. Todd was Todd Howard. It's fucking serious. No one believes a word you're gonna say. She ain't gonna work. It needs 50 patches. This shit'll work 2 years after it comes out. Fine, Todd. Whatever. Whatever, sir.
I will say one game that looks like I don't know, like, but it looks like they're gonna be doing stuff right, and it's got a black lady, a Southern black lady, an unambiguously Southern black lady with the
unambiguous is important. That's why that was said.
With the brown's skin. What the fuck is this game called? My brain just went all the way off. It's called South of Midnight, and it's gonna be a third-person action adventure, but with a very like magic-y take on the American South. The main character is a very black lady who's gonna be doing the magics, and they came out the gates saying they're like, we know that this is really shaky ground to walk on. We know that this is gonna need some care. Yeah. So we're telling you, we're doing we've got the care. We've got like all of these, like they listed some names of groups that they are doing the consulting. They've got like there's definitely black ladies involved in the writing process. There's they're very clear right off the bat, which was great because didn't all this showcase just yesterday?
It's been all weekend, but I think south of what's it called?
Midnight.
South of Midnight is I think I heard about it on the Xbox One, and they've been elaborating all weekend. And part of the being them elaborating is showing how many black people were involved and so many different types of black people and consulting and being like name names and linking people in tweets and adding people, and they're confirming, and they're just like see
they're being very open about like no, we understand that this is a landmine.
Because let's be honest, it is, because one, American South, no game with a sizable, well, excuse me, that's not true because I almost forgot about Mafia, but American South, that like, we're not gonna beat around the bush. That's AKA black, right? Black, the lady protagonist, again, still rare, you know. So you can't be talking about this, and they kind of hand wavy like some of the things too. Well, it's not like she's gonna solve racism. Well, no one was asking for that, but obviously, if you said that, then you know what people are going to be thinking about.
Well, and she's like a literal magical Negro, so like we have to like how magical Negro is this magical Negro?
Right.
Like,
Right.
is it magical Negro appropriate in a magical fantasy world? Like what we talking about here? Like, there's a lot of different ways that this could go wrong, but they have been coming out the gate like really trying to like be like, no, we're trying, we're putting in the effort. Here's our sources, we're citing our sources.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's like when you read that, it's like it very much reads like a well crafted office email about like, yes, here's this black thing where we want you to know that black women are working on it, black people, and we're working on experts to make sure it's right. And it reads very much like that because obviously they know people ain't gonna fly with half-assing it. We're just not. Whenever this game comes out, we're just not gonna, you know. So we need to know that the right people are in charge while it's being done. So yeah, I'm excited because I just
it
love to
almost
see more people in Magic. Yep.
South of Midnight feels like the opposite of Final Fantasy 16 on approach. Like it's just the
Oh,
I mean, I
opposite.
wasn't gonna
Like it's
say
just
it,
like the
but
like
like,
brother.
it's just like hard, like the
Come on.
hard opposite. Like I didn't mean to, but I was like they're almost like and I'm not gonna lie to you. I love when white people are freaking out about handling my blackness. It's like when I'm out and I'm like in a restaurant or something like that, and I realize like I'm gonna go to a nice restaurant, but we're the only black people there. So then the white people will think that we're like famous or some shit. So if something goes wrong, they send like 6 waves of people to apologize because we're obviously famous. Like I obviously play basketball. Erica's obviously in business. Like obviously they don't know us. But we can go on the internet, especially when we're both on our phones, because we're just idling. But it looks like we're doing something important, and we're like, and they can start getting nervous and stuff. Good.
not niggas getting dinner and they might have money.
Might have money. Right.
God.
Right. And I like that energy. I'm not going to lie to you. I enjoy that energy. Show us your sources. Like I said, at some point, at some point in the middle of their freaking out, I'm like, I'm sold. But I'm just going to get them keep dancing. You keep showing me. Keep linking me to people. Keep having people confirm. Who are you working with? Right after, like, you show me a 10-page report. I'm 2 pages in. I'm like, it's cool. Yeah. But let me get the other 8. That's cool. Just keep freaking out. It's great. I deserve that. We deserve that. We absolutely deserve that. So, yeah. That's like the 1-to-1 opposite. Because, man, my man Yoshi P got on the mic twice and told us we don't belong in his game. But the Flaming Phoenix versus Bahamut duel, they fucking started off the game with that shit, bro. They didn't even have the tutorial was after they were fighting.
It's so unfortunate because like people are so excited about it, and every time they like say the name and they say they're excited about it, I just get angry.
Right.
And it's not like I'm not trying to like yuck people's yum. Like that's not what's happening. It's just like I want to be excited, but I can't be excited because I just got told that I don't belong in this game.
Right.
And
that's the thing. That
feels bad. And like I got told it was historically inaccurate, even though I'm just like.
It's funny because I was thinking about FF. I wasn't really thinking about it, but it's just like I remember those comments, and then like I was looking at the Netflix Cleopatra, not really documentary, but it's like drama. Well, it's like a
dramatization,
and you're right, and just like real legit documentary stuff to learn about history. And you know they made that very very black and brown, whatever, because I think whoever was in charge, they acknowledged that even though it's in Africa, there's still very much I don't know why I was about to say very weird, but there's still very poignant feelings regarding like blackness and like particularly being dark,
right?
And regarding like Northern Africa, or what have you.
Egyptians. There's a contingent of Egyptians that do not think they're African.
Right.
They consider themselves, and like they consider them culturally and like they part of Arab and the Middle East. Like they do not consider themselves Africans.
Right.
Even though you can have Arabic Africans, but that's a different story for the diaspora.
Right. And yeah, thank you. And I'm not speaking for a region that I honestly don't know enough about, but I was thinking about how like her casting, this black actress is casting, quote unquote, people in their feelings, when the person in charge said, no, I made that deliberate because I want people to understand it is very likely that, because why would they not? Why would she not look like that?
Uh,
Aside from you being anti-black, like really
I
think about
I
that.
I mean, they're like we don't know because like we can't
Right.
really tell, but like
Exactly.
there is like some information on why she wouldn't be, but it would also be because she is part of the Ptolemies, and the Ptolemies were like extremely racist against um uh Egyptians, especially like dark skinned Egyptians,
Right.
like not just like on a colorism level, like they did not, they weren't like considered Egyptian at the time.
Right.
So like there's a whole bunch of stuff there, but like we at the end of the day, we don't know. We don't know what really she fully looked like. It's all speculation. But
Right.
I did appreciate the director's, like the director had a great interview. I sent it to a friend of mine because a friend of mine is like very into Egypt everything and not a Hotep way.
Mm.
That's
Like
possible.
So you just said, yeah, they're cool and they're not colorist. That's great. That's, you said enough
you
for
know
about
who
your
they
friend.
are. It's As.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, you know who they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So and As was just like, but then I said As like the actual like full director interview and like some of the shit that they said, I was like, I have no issues with this.
Yeah.
I don't even care if it's historically accurate or not. This is fine. This is
Right.
hilarious because like
Right.
As is also just very tired of like Cleopatra in general for valid reasons. There are other female Egyptian leaders that did a lot of really amazing things in very tumultuous times, but like there's like this hard focus on Cleopatra, even though there really doesn't need to be. But this historical dramatization is hitting all of these nerves, and the director knows and is just like, I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
In
Right.
a really historic, in a really hilarious way. Like it's one of those where like I'm also Cleopatra out, but I want to watch this because this is just fucking hysterical.
Yeah. No, it's really good. I was just thinking about, and the reason why I brought it up was because it's always this thing where, and I see conversations where people are like, well, whether or not you want to engage in a conversation or it doesn't quote unquote matter to you, that's fine. You could just play the game or whatever. If you, but one of the things I saw that was made me go, really? It's just that, well, if creators choose to spend so much time researching different cultures of things, but your own eyeballs see things and you choose to omit them,
Yep.
like, it's very difficult for me to sit across from you while we're having this conversation and you're telling me, well, that doesn't necessarily mean that they were being quote unquote malicious. I'm not saying that may not be the right word, but you made choices. Just like South of Midnight and Compulsion Games made the choice to make this game and involve all these people to make sure it can be the best thing that it can be whenever it comes out, which I don't think it's coming out next year. I'm gonna just be honest. But anyway, that's just me. I'm just saying.
I mean,
That's like if I chose actually, this is a great example, actually. Is if I chose to make a game about the Caribbean, but as you're playing it, you're just like, well, where are the Black Caribbeans?
Sorry, I just my brain short circuit. Like I know the example that you're making, but like the idea of there not being Black Caribbean, like just made my brain short circuit. Because like one, that content has been made before. I don't know if it's made in a video game, but like you've seen TV shows. They're like, oh, we're like in the Caribbean, we're like in all these areas, and I'm like, the only places that white people can get their hair done are at specifically tourist salons that with that's like the place where you like white people have to for the first time in their lives have like a specialized hair person because be able to do it because they ain't there. Not now. Sorry, this is really funny to me.
That's why I threw it out there.
I know.
I mean, I didn't know. I kind of want to see that. I mean, it makes me think of like your real world game based in the Caribbean looking like Chrono Cross. It's just so it's just I'm like,
Oh yeah, that would like honestly, I don't know if I'll be the person or whoever does it, but like yeah, that would obviously look very not like FFCC. Let's just be honest. It just wouldn't. And Surge definitely would. He would more likely be an Afro Latino boy. Just saying.
I mean,
anyway. I was gonna say something about Across the Spider-Verse, but then I realized no, I can't do that. Instead,
actually, it's funny. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, I don't know if we're supposed to be talking. I don't know how much we want to go in depth in Across the Spider-Verse because
I want to
Bacon
see
has
it,
not
but I can't
seen.
go to movie theaters.
No, we won't talk about it.
Yeah, we're not gonna.
I've been looking at all of the fan art online of those two fucking adorable fucking characters.
There are so many adorable characters.
Queer ass relationship, and I just really want to see it so bad. And fucking LJ was just like, "It's the best movie ever," and I'm like, "I need to see
it actually, I realized that I was processing it like I'd seen it with Erica's boy, and I was saying like, "This is the best Marvel movie I've ever seen," and then he was like, "I think this is the best movie I've ever seen," and then I paused and I was like, "I think this is the best movie I've ever seen." I think this is the best movie I've ever seen.
Up there,
right? And that's the thing; it's in the discussion. Like every time someone suggests it, you have to think about it because they might be right. Based on your experience, they might be right, and that's cool. Like it's just like, yeah.
It is way better than Transformers: Rise of the Beast. I'll tell you that because I watched that and I was just like,
"Oh, is it fun though? I just need Transformers movies to be fun. Is it fun? Like, is it not fun? It has to be fun. Come on, man! It can't not be fun.
It's fun to a degree,
terrible.
But you'll definitely be like, what is this?
That's a terrible response.
I'm sorry.
You're gonna be like, yeah, what the fuck? Like,
my main motivation to watch that was Dominique Fishback because she's starring in another film, and I'm sorry, like I just like her acting and the things that she does.
Right.
Surprise, surprise! I like watching black women act. I don't know what to tell you, but anyway, it's like. The explosions are nice. The CGI animation is like up there, but it's just like
is it? Here's the deal: is it properly detached from Michael Bay to the point where a Transformers fan could see it and not want to leave the theater? Because that was his biggest problem with the first 4 or 5 movies.
Yes,
they were offensive.
The movie yada yada's like. You don't really have to watch any of the Bay films to even like go into that. It just yada. Yeah, the way it's explained. Well, just giving away plot stuff I won't say, but it's just like, oh, this is why there's Terracons, Maximals, and nods to Predacons in the movie.
Well, that's the thing. Like Michael Bay, and credit to him, he has the ability to make. He had the ability to make everything to diminish the value of all narrative in everything he's ever made. So I'm just like. Transformers doesn't have to be 1-to-1, but there is a history of Transformers. Most people who go in there have some connection to Transformers. Michael Bay had a very good talent for washing the value of that away within the first 5 to 10 minutes of the movie, all of them. And it's a skill, kudos to him, but it's not helpful in this instance. So I'm just if it's something that a Transformers fan can get through and enjoy. That's it. Then that's fine. I don't, like I said, having seen Across the Spider-Verse, I'm good. Like I said, you would have to get on a microphone and tell me my black ass is not needed, like some people, for me to feel like I'm vibing right now. You'd have to really go push in the other direction. Like, I feel served and satisfied by that movie. And I'm not going to get into details, but I'm going to say just one last thing. It is a proper New York story from New York, and I don't like New York. I call it Trash City. I don't want to go back, but I'm still from there. And New York has become a meme centered around observations of New Yorkers from 20 years ago. It's fucking weird. The Tims, the memes, that shit happened 20 odd years ago. We laugh about it, but it's not funny. That shit's old. That's my childhood. And now it's popping up now like it's current. It's not. All of you know nothing about New York. So the idea that the story is written by New Yorkers and the voice of everyone in New York is unique. Even the foibles, like the fact that the parents were like, he got New Jersey as far, like that type of shit. We're not trying to leave. Like, your mother doesn't have a license because we're not planning on leaving New York. That's us. That's Trash fucking City right there. And I like the fact that, again, the music, the soundscape is not just slapping Biggie Smalls on some shit. There's a lot of fucking...
Why is it always Biggie
It's
Smalls?
always fucking Biggie Smalls.
Why is it always Biggie Smalls?
That happens in
Always.
Transformers because it takes place in 1994. Anyway, continue.
Bro, listen, I could not see...
not...
Listen, I could not watch that trailer for months because they kept playing fucking Biggie Smalls because the story takes place loosely in Brooklyn or New York or something like that. I don't know. They got that Hispanic guy who plays all the characters from New York. Good on him.
Anthony Ramos. Yeah.
Keep working.
Okay, listen, that man... That is his money.
Work, right. Get that money.
Yeah.
However, whenever there's a story about New York, they just play like Biggie Smalls over the top of it. And it's just like, I couldn't watch the trailer because it's so fucking awkward.
Yeah, they are.
My second
The actual soundtrack itself is fine.
Right.
And that's a good point to mention because why is there fixation on Biggie music for movies that happen in 1994? Listen, it's because of the time period, but again, it's just like
there are other New York rappers.
Right. And the thing is, when you watch the movie,
it makes sense.
Definitely hear two different artists, and it's just like, why didn't you just pick someone else? But
right. Anyway. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's one of those things where I understood what was going on. I just have secondhand embarrassment about slathering on, like the way New York. It's always, like I said, as much as I don't like it, and because I don't want to seem like I don't want to be defending New York because I actually don't like it. I don't like New York at all. But I don't want to be defending it publicly either. But all of the public treatment of it narratively is always like really old. So it's always very confusing to me. All of it's like white people just discovered old Brooklyn and just slap that on every representation of Brooklyn. And it's just it's so odd. And Spider-Man had a very nuanced understanding of Brooklyn as a locations in terms of geography. It was absolutely perfect where Miles lived, where he traveled, where he did his superhero shit. All of it made sense. I understood where he lived. I know where he lived, and I know where he went to school. And I know I would see him. You would see him waiting for the right train at the right time of day, just sitting there eating a sandwich. And that's good. That's kudos to that. Again, I don't like New York, but they nailed it in such a way that made me happy. I almost wanted to go back until I realized how much it costs to rent housing and just like rent a room for a weekend. It's $1,000 for 2 days. Hard pass, but good movie though.
Damn.
Good movie though. Good movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Transformers is that.
Listen, that's fine. That's fine. I just need the explosions to be cute. The bar for Transformers is underground. And it's like, I think it's like surrounded by zombies.
Remember when there wasn't any good Transformers video games?
There were,
and so
there were 2 good ones.
Yeah, this is before War for Cybertron. Yeah, but remember when Transformers, the time before War for Cybertron?
Yeah,
in Transformers video games.
Those are dark times. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. Why are we talking about
Right, no, that's where the bar is.
Right. In the movies, yes, you're absolutely right. That is where the bar is, right? It isn't, yeah,
remember when War for Cybertron came out and everybody's just like, oh, it's a Transformers game. I'll try it because Transformers is probably going to be bad. Why is this good? That's where the bar is.
That's true. You're right. I'm here for that. All right. Does anyone have anything they want to add before we wrap up? Because we are approaching our time. Shoot.
Yes. Drink your water. Apply. It's the summer, so please hold on to that water bottle if you live in an area that gets hot. I sometimes forget when I stepped into my car and I went to the museum. It was like damn near 100 degrees out there. I know I live in South Florida, but still, have your water bottle. Apply sunscreen multiple times throughout the day. Stay in shade. If you're feeling a little woozy, probably best to sit down and drink water. That's one. Two, if you need albums to listen to, new ones. Janelle Monáe, Age of Pleasure just came out.
Hell yeah.
That's good. The song Champagne Shit is great. Also, you have, which came out a little early in the year, Yasmin Lacey, Voice Notes. The song Bad Company is really good because it's Pride Month. I almost forgot. You also have Dreamer, Isama. They put out their new album, Princess Forever. They're very talented. They're young Black queer artists. Great music. I can't say enough about that album. Also, Diamond and Freak, some Black Odyssey. That's also good to listen to. All right, that's it. I'm done.
I love that so much.
I'm here for the music
Right,
recommendations.
I'm not
because,
gonna
like,
lie.
I'm just so behind.
I don't think you can be anymore.
No, I am. For me, when I say I'm behind, I mean like I haven't listened to music in like 3 months.
Yeah, no, they can't. 3 months is fine. That's not like.
Well, no, I
Yeah.
mean like at all, like any music.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I'm not
That's fine.
like it's not even like I don't know what's new. It's just like music doesn't exist in my head right now.
I don't.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like I don't think music is on the same timeline as like serialized stories, if that makes sense.
No, I don't treat it like it's on the same timeline. What I mean by behind on music is just like I don't know that anybody's put out anything.
That's fine.
Like
Oh,
I don't. So
okay.
when I open up my Spotify, I'm like I don't know what to listen to. Well, nah, I got. And I'm also a person who keeps up with music usually.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you
Okay.
used to always link me to music, and then oh yeah, you did stop linking me to music.
Yeah, you now get it you now just get like a whole spam of it every few months.
Right, that's true, isn't it? All right, cool. Well, then, yeah, that might actually be a recurring thing because I'm trying to as well. Mostly, I like mostly movie scores, and I realize I've become an older guy because there's a big chunk of movie scores I ignore. I have reasons, but I realize I was like, I think it's like both the pandemic and constantly moving around and kind of the spaces I was living in, I wasn't listening to music just because it didn't want to take up a certain amount of space. Like it's just stretching.
Yeah.
And listening to music is a certain amount of like stretching out and taking up space. So now I'm kind of getting back into it, and I realize like I'm super far behind. Like outside of like some smatterings of things, like I don't know what's going on either. So music is a good idea, Jeffrey. And this is why you
Cool.
want. This is why you won a media award right there. This is why, because of your relentless contributions to the African American community. Relentless. With that said, I think we're gonna
Hold on, wait. Congratulations, Denver. We're done.
Yeah, oh yeah, you're a Heat fan. Listen, your Heat did something better than winning the NBA championship. They ensured that the Knicks fans nor Celtics fans would see any joy to the point where, and this is the thing, as
Wait,
a basket.
was this the game that Justin was losing?
No,
blood
that was a Washington
No.
Mystics game. He's a Mystics fan,
Yeah.
so they were right. That's a whole the whole WNBA chat. Well, no one open it. We're at to wrap up, but the Heat. And when your team, you want to make sure that if you can't win a championship, is that you run the risk of blowing up another team's era. So the Celtics are panicking about the Heat exposing what's wrong with their whole team makeup to the point where they're trying to figure out what to do going forward. And they might blow up that core. And the Celtics aren't bad. They just need a point guard, like a real one. But they're so antsy about getting picked apart by Miami that they might be ruining it. And let me tell you, as a Warriors fan, when we forced the Rockets to start over and they've never recovered, that's just as satisfying as winning the championship. So let me tell you, just understand as a Heat fan, just look at if you ever want to look at Celtics Twitter or general Celtics beat reporting, they're very nervous. You guys ruined them, and that's fucking awesome. Ruined them. It's fucking great. All right, guys. I think that's our program. You can find us on Twitter, UN Fridays, but Twitter's a shambles. So just look among, just start digging through the debris. UN Fridays, we're in there somewhere buried. Help us out.
The Patreon.
Patreon.com/UN Fridays. That's patreon.com/UN Fridays. That just pays operating costs and Bacon's groceries. Full stop, 1-to-1. That's it. Like it's just wholesale, just a little bit of extra money on top in a time where we all need a little extra money on top. That's it. So, yep, that's our program. Remember, like I said, stay hydrated, keep sunscreen on, listen to more music. Do not suddenly buy Alan Wake 2. Do not suddenly buy Alan Wake 2. I see you. Don't just stop. Stop. Have a pleasant day.